I'm excited to be here in Mission Bay, and it's a great neighborhood. You can see literally all around how many homes are rising up to really house all of San Franciscans. And first of all, I want to thank Mercy Housing for all that you do to house our residents. Mercy's been a great partner with the city, and if you look right across the street, they have a building there that's housing seniors. And today we're, of course, going to be given a special tour at 1180 4th Street, which is right behind us. And just in a few short months, that'll be new homes to a lot of our city's formerly homeless residents. And that's why we're here today. We're here for our city's homeless families and individuals. And there's no doubt that our city has changed many lives across this last 10 years. We'll always be focusing on the future to ensure that we remain a city for the 100%. That's why I've been working hard to make sure we attract investments, create jobs, and build housing in our city. And I know that when our residents have access to good paying jobs, they're going to succeed. And with the record low unemployment rate that we're experiencing, we're making sure our families get the great job opportunities that they need. And with our focus on affordability and housing, we are creating a housing ladder that will help all of our residents. I've set a goal of building or rehabilitating 30,000 homes by 2020, with at least a third being units that are affordable to low and moderate income families. This, coupled with our commitment to eviction prevention and rapid rehousing, we're trying to make sure residents do not become homeless to begin with. And today we are here to highlight the successes, the challenges, and the opportunities within the last 10 years. 10 years ago, Mayor Gavin Newsom asked then Mayor Supervisor Anja Alioto, who will be here in a short minute, to create a 10-year plan to end chronic homelessness in the city. And we knew we were up for a big challenge. Well, you'll see in the report that we're issuing today, 10 years later, we have made significant progress, even as we struggled through one of the worst recessions in a generation. Today, we are taking those best practices like housing first, and we are recommitting ourselves to move forward and continue what works, and boldly challenge ourselves to do even more. Well, let's first reflect on our past. Since the adoption of the 10-year capital plan to end chronic homelessness that began in 2004, the city has cut chronic homelessness in half. That's half. What does that mean? The city has helped more than 19,000 people leave the streets. Let me repeat, 19,000 lives have changed for the better. Nearly 11,000 of those moved into supportive housing that we have built. And several other thousand we have managed to be able to reunite with their families. Let me repeat how important it is, because it shouldn't be just on our shoulders to build more housing. Our programs cover a myriad of services, and one of the most important things is for people to be reunited with their own families. Thousands of people have done that through our homeless programs. Because of our strong federal partnership, we've seen a 30% decrease in veterans' homelessness since I became mayor in 2011. And today we are much closer to achieving the goal of ending veterans' chronic homelessness by next year. And we're going to have a lot of announcements between now and next year to let you know how we're doing it. I've invested millions of dollars in eviction prevention and will continue to fight for the reform in the Ellis Act. And even though we had a small setback, we are as committed as reforming the Ellis Act as there's ever been. And I thank Senator Leno for his leadership. We'll get it done. We will eventually get it done. My proposed 2-year budget includes $29 million in additional services for homelessness across a continuum of need. It includes new funding for new supportive services for families and individuals. And in this 2-year budget that we just passed at 12:30 a.m. this morning, we are investing in transitional and supportive housing targeted at transitional age youth, seniors, veterans, families, and single mothers, and we will commit ourselves to making sure we focus on the LGBT population in our homeless count. There's also funding that includes support to rehabilitate hundreds of vacant units at our San Francisco Housing Authority. I want to thank our Housing Authority for being here today. Having lived briefly in public housing myself, having represented hundreds of public housing tenants, I believe that safe and well-managed public housing is one of the most important tools in ending homelessness. And that's why our city will make unprecedented investments into our existing public housing units, as well as create new homes for our families in mixed income developments through Hope SF. With the support of Supervisor Farrell, we will see a Laura's Law come to our city, and we will increase funding for our San Francisco homeless outreach teams, in addition to more housing placements, aggressive enrollment in Medi-Cal, and the CARES initiative that provides new comprehensive citywide approaches to helping residents who are suffering from severe mental health and substance abuse. I'm proud of the collaboration with our city departments to create the 311 shelter reservation system for 90-day beds, and we are increasing our funding for shelter services as well. Our city's commitment continues with over $3 million in increased state funds for employment services, employment barrier removal, and child care targeted at homeless families, and also those that are experiencing significant barriers to self-sufficiency. I will continue to increase access to stable and affordable housing, increase economic security, improve health and stability, and retool our homeless emergency response system, and improve leadership, collaboration, and civic engagement. And we'll also look forward to what I think you're seeing more and more of, a very healthy investment from our private and philanthropic partners. You're going to see more of those announcements as the months come. And to make sure that city agencies are coordinating and maximizing resources, I'm announcing today a San Francisco Interagency Council on Homelessness that will recommit ourselves with our federal and state key partners to continue the work, the very important work of ending homelessness. And we use innovation, we'll certainly invite investments, and we'll be implementing the best practices that we've learned and more new practices that we'll continue to introduce. And as I reflect on the progress as well as the challenges over the past 10 years, I can't thank enough the great city staff, the nonprofits, and the community-based advocates who have worked every day to help us together collaborate on addressing and ending homelessness. I believe, and I know you know that I've demonstrated over and over again, that with collaboration of community-based agencies and government and the private sector, we'll do even better. So I am proud to present this report, proud to announce a new, refreshed interagency commitment to ending homelessness and to the wonderful programs that will continue working together. And with that, let me introduce to you a partner at the Board of Supervisors who I have become more and more close to because his ideas attract so much of who I'm all about in running the city. Supervisor Mark Farrell, your leadership on Laura's Law is going to prove so helpful to the city. Your advocacy for more resources in the outreach teams, but just you being who you are as a great leader of our city, I want to thank you for your commitment in working with me and bringing the board and the mayor's office together with our homeless czar and all of the different agencies that are working hard to end homelessness. Supervisor Mark Farrell.
Thank you, Mayor Lee. It's an honor to be here today with the mayor and to all the city department heads who are here today. As Mayor Lee mentioned, if we want to be serious about reducing our homeless population here in San Francisco, it does take a village. It takes city staff, it takes elected officials, it takes community leaders, and I see Jennifer Friedenbach, Jeff Kaczynski, so many other people that play an integral role in what we do here in San Francisco. And as we reflect upon what we've done over the last 10 years in San Francisco to address homelessness, and as we look to the future, I think even more importantly, it takes all of us together to work together as a community to make that happen. You know, back in February, we held a hearing at the Board of Supervisors to look at our 10-year homeless plan that was commissioned in 2004 to really think about where we've come, what we've done that's been effective, and really look at what we can do better into the future. Since then, we've had 5 other hearings on homelessness at the Budget and Finance Committee inside of our walls of City Hall, and really to explore in depth different ways, different subpopulations of our homeless, different ways that we can approach our homeless problem in San Francisco, and really to find collaborative ways to work together. And it's been an amazing exercise. I think it takes that type of dedication to really make a dent in the effort. You know, since then we have increased our homeless outreach team here in San Francisco. As Mayor Lee mentioned, thanks to his leadership as well, we are going to pass Laura's Law at the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco. I think we'll have a tremendous impact upon a number of not only our homeless population, but certainly those that have mental illnesses outside in our homes inside of San Francisco, and really to help those families that need that help. And as we look to the future, really talking about what we can do as a city, what other cities are doing, what we can draw from in best practices, and really take an innovative approach to the future of homelessness in San Francisco. You know, this report that Mayor Lee is releasing is so important as we think about where we've come from and how much we've done over the last 10 years. But as I believe everybody thinks in this crowd behind me and in front, we can do better as a city, and we will. I'm proud to be here today with everybody, and I think this report, I think Mayor Lee's directive on this interagency council, to me what it signifies is San Francisco's commitment to continue to be at the forefront of this issue. And this doesn't happen overnight. This takes a sustained effort over time. It takes hard work with everybody involved. But I think what we've learned certainly over the last 9 months and working on this issue inside of City Hall with Mayor Lee's leadership and the leadership of everybody behind me, that we can do this together and we will make progress. So the best is yet to come, and I want to thank everyone for being here and really want to thank Mayor Lee and all the city agencies for making this happen. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Bevan Dufty. I'm Director of Hope, Housing Opportunity, Partnerships and Engagement for Mayor Lee, and I'm certainly excited to have the task of leading for the mayor this SF Interagency Council on Homelessness and looking to pattern after federal best practices to move this agenda forward. In 2004, when the 10-year plan was developed, it was a big turning point for the city. And the leadership that Mayor Newsom at the time sought was from the former president of the Board of Supervisors, Angela Alioto. If you look on the city's website today, you can find the 10-year plan. And I think to read it really shows how ahead of the time that plan was. Many of the best practices that you see advanced nationally, such as rapid rehousing, housing veterans, recognizing the difficulties people face exiting the justice system, removing barriers between our mental health and substance abuse services, were all hallmarks of this report. Much less that Supervisor Alioto brought together dozens of San Franciscans from as far and wide as Mike D'Annunzio from the San Francisco Republican Party to Paul Bowden, who was then with the Coalition on Homelessness. And hundreds of people participated in making that plan. But it really does reflect the energy, the evidence-based approach that Angela takes, and compassion for people on our streets, and recognizing that housing is the answer. And with that, I want to recognize and bring up former President of the Board of Supervisors, Angela Alioto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and former Supervisor Duffy and Supervisor and all of you. Without Trent and without Barbara and without all the participation that we had from every single department in the city and county, this plan would not have happened. We had an amazing group of people for the first month sitting at the same table with Jenny Friedenbach, who is here for the Coalition on Homelessness, who has devoted her heart and soul to poor people. Sitting on that council with the Hotel Council and the Chamber of Commerce was quite an experience for someone like me. And after about the first month, everybody was getting along beautifully because our goal was to house the chronically homeless. I have to mention that when we came out with the report 6 months later on June 29th today, I cannot believe that was 10 years ago. Except that I have a 14-year-old granddaughter, so I guess it was 10 years ago. Gavin Newsom just could not believe we actually did it, and it was such a beautiful plan of action. I talked to Lieutenant Governor Newsom last night. He is very, very excited about these results. The point that I think is so important is that we were dealing specifically with chronically homeless people and not the general population, which is very difficult to really separate at times. But our goal was permanent, supportive housing. Supportive means medical care, mental health. We lobbied the state, we lobbied the federal government. The homeless czar, Philip Mangano, gave the city and county of San Francisco more federal money than we had ever received in any prior administration, including my dad's. And that was a big deal, because Dad was a big advocate in Washington, D.C., as Mayor Lee is now. So when we started the plan, we knew where we were headed. And once Trent came in and Barbara came in and had these units, real units, putting people into real units, kitchen, everything, that was our goal, and make it permanent. Don't put them back into the atmosphere that they came from. Give them mental health on a regular basis. That's the supportive. And housing means not with an end, not transient, not transitional, not something that has an end. I firmly believe we stay on this path, we will put a massive, massive dent, just as this report already says, from veterans to jail inmates to those who are newly on the street. We continue on this path, as Mayor Lee has promised to do, with Bevan Duffy at the helm. I believe we absolutely can abolish chronic homelessness. It's not easy. You get a little discouraged, but we've got a group of people who are determined. And I just told the mayor, I'm going to be an advisor to your interstate. He didn't know it. I said, so I'm going to be an advisor to your interstate council. I'll keep my eye on Bevan. Every time you can ask Trent, you can ask Dar, you can ask Barbara, you can ask Bevan. Every time I see a homeless person on the street, I call them on their cell. And I give them about an hour and a half to do something about it. So now, sometimes my phone call gets answered and sometimes it doesn't. But the goal is they know we get those people off the street as soon as they're on the street. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. This report is a wonderful delight, especially the nutritional part of it. Everybody laughed at us because I had a doctor on that council who was giving vitamins to homeless people, Dr. Richard Cunyon. And that nutritional section is now being studied in 40 other states in the United States, because they believe that if you can get someone off the street within 90 days of being on the street, it's all about nutrition to the brain cells. So thank you very, very much, everyone, and thank you, Supervisor Mark, for doing such a fabulous job at those hearings. All the citizens of San Francisco, the city of St. Francis, thank you from the bottom of their hearts.
Thank you so much. As Supervisor Aliotto mentioned, our public health department has really been in the forefront nationally for linking health and housing, and no one more than Barbara Garcia, who throughout her career at the health department has been advancing health-based solutions to end homelessness. Barbara?
Good afternoon, all. It's a great honor to have worked for the last 10 years and on this issue. We're one of the few health departments in the country that provide housing directly to our clients. And the data shows that people get healthier, and they also do not go to the hospital as much. And we've also are responsible for the supportive services in these housing units. It is really, really important. Those two things go hand in hand. And so we're really proud to have been part of this. We also supervise the implementation of the homeless outreach team, which really is a team to go out, get people as soon as possible into housing and get them ready for housing permanently, as well as taking care of all of their medical and mental health needs. We will continue to work and implement expanded mental health services. As you mentioned, Laura's Law has been implemented, but just as important, we've implemented several other mental health programs that will expand our case management systems, and also to look at any of the housing that we bring on board will have sufficient medical and mental health and substance abuse support. I look forward to working with all of my colleagues in the interagency group, and I know that we can continue to make differences in people's lives every every day. So I want to thank all of the officials here today who make it a very special city to live in, that we do care about those without homes. So thank you very much for being here.
Next, we're going to hear from Trent Rohr of the Human Services Agency, and Trent was part of the 10-year Planning Council. And the building that we're going to see today is one in which the Human Services Agency is referring clients, and much of what Trent has helped us to do this year is to advocate at the state level, and we have not had much of a partnership from the state government in responding to homelessness, and we're very excited at the success he's had, as well as the passage of Proposition 41, which will enable us to build more housing for our homeless veterans. So here, HSA Director Trent Rohr.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Bevan. As Mayor Newsom's point person on homelessness, when we drafted the plan with Angela's leadership and in that role for the first 4 years of the plan, I'm so pleased at the progress we've made. I just leaned over to Angela and I whispered in her ear, "God, you were a pain in the..." And she laughed, but so much credit should go to Angela. She really pushed us as city agencies, as community partners, as advocates, to work together to realize the vision of the plan. 3,000 units was a bold plan, a bold goal in 2004, and I wasn't sure we would get there. We're at 2,700 units 10 years later, and with over 300 more units in the pipeline that will be at 3,000 in about 18 months. We've housed over 11,000 people. We've reunited, as the mayor said, over 8,000 people with their family and support networks throughout the country. That's 19,000 people that we've moved off the streets in 10 years. I mean, we far exceeded our goals in terms of housing placements, given the turnover, given the existing portfolio, and it's all it was leadership from Angela, leadership from Mayor Newsom, and of course the current leadership from Mayor Lee, who is with this report cementing that we know that supportive housing works, that we know how to solve homelessness at the individual level. Mayor Lee's commitment to seeing the 3,000 units through, as well as hundreds of more units over the next several years. The reformation of the Interagency Council really shows to my colleagues, to his department heads, city leaders, that we are going to work together. We're going to meet constantly. We're going to reach those goals. We're going to continue to house people. Supportive housing works because of, as Barbara said, and as Bevan and Angela said, because we have the wraparound services in a permanent housing model. People get healthier. People don't use the emergency room as much. People don't get admitted to the hospital. People don't get arrested. People are off the streets and they're improving their lives. It's the humane solution to homelessness. It's also the cost-effective solution to homelessness. Supportive housing is the same cost as having that same individual be on the street and using those high-cost crisis interventions, emergency room, ambulances, etc. It's also the same cost as having someone in emergency shelter. Much more humane solution. It's the fiscally smart thing to do. It's the humane thing to do, and we're going to continue to do it under Mayor Lee's leadership, under the leadership of the Interagency Council of Bevan Dufty. I'm so pleased of our progress. I look forward to another 10 years, another 3,000 units, and housing another 11,000 people. Thanks very much.
Great. And I just want to acknowledge a couple of folks who are here. So I want to acknowledge Corinne Woods and Sarah Davis, and they're part of the Mission Creek Residents Association and also on the Mission Bay Advisory Committee. And Corinne has really been so supportive of ensuring that we're responding to homelessness in every neighborhood of San Francisco, and I really just want to thank them both for being so welcoming and focusing on things. And then I also want to acknowledge that Elisha Haig Blaine is here, and Elisha is with the National League of Cities and is participating with us in a conference on our response to veterans homelessness, and that's part of his mission. And now I want to bring up someone who was the project manager for this exciting project, who's now the Vice President for Operations at Mercy Housing, Jennifer Donlan.
I'm bringing up my partner too, Ken Reggio for Episcopal Community Services. So my name is Jennifer Dolan, Mercy Housing. We've been providing housing here in San Francisco for over 3 decades. Right now we have about 5,000 San Franciscans housed throughout San Francisco. We're really proud to be able to continue to work with the city of San Francisco in the form of the community infrastructure, investment in infrastructure, as well as the San Francisco Mayor's Office of Housing. They are fabulous partners in our ability to do this and to provide this type of housing. And in order to continue to have the homeless, the now formerly homeless, because once they enter those doors, they're no longer homeless. They have a permanent supportive home. We partner up with Ken Reggio. So Ken Reggio, tell us a little bit about.
Thank you, Jennifer. Ken Reggio, Episcopal Community Services, and our involvement in this terrific project goes back to 2008, I think, when I got a call from Jennifer. And we have worked with Mercy closely through the years, and we're very excited about move-in day coming up closely for 50 people who at this time are in shelters, living briefly with relatives on the street, and are going to come into housing. And our role as service provider is going to be to work intensely with the 50 families who currently are homeless in order, as we do in our other 9 supportive housing sites, to ensure that their experience is not just a positive one, but a lasting one, and one where homelessness becomes very much a part of their past. ECS, as well as our colleagues who provide supportive housing, know it works. We carry anywhere from a 96 to 98% success rate in terms of keeping people housed, people sometimes with long histories of homelessness, and that's what we are going to be working on here. Community building, case management, connecting people to the essential services that they need in education, employment, health, mental health, all those things that will keep people, will keep homelessness as a part of people's past. We're privileged to work with Mercy and with the city on this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Bevan.
Great. I just want to also say it was important to Mayor Lee that he wanted to meet one of the families that's moving in. And so I want to acknowledge in this beautiful giant scarf, Charisse Bell, who is here. She is available to talk to the media. She'll be joining the mayor for the tour, and she's representative of one of the families that's moving here. I want to acknowledge Tiffany Bohe, who's here from our Redevelopment Successor Agency, Olson Lee, the director of the Mayor's Office of Housing, and Barbara Smith, who's leading our San Francisco Housing Authority. So let's go and take our tours. Thank you.